All right, welcome back to the Rush Hour podcast. It has been a while, guys, but we are here, and yeah, we're queer. Anyway, we
Wasn't
we're
expecting that.
so yeah, we're back, and I know some people have requested some topics from us. But one of the ones that I wanted to start out with, and this is basically an extension of the conversation from "Teach Me How to Cook" about one tricking. And one tricking can be defined as, why don't you define it, Sizzle? Because I saw it from one of your conversations in a video.
Yeah, one tricking to me is just any game any game where you can select multiple, I guess, characters, decks, or archetype, whatever you want to call it. Basically, one tricking means you only play that one character. And normally what happens is people who are one tricks have a negative connotation towards that. But more often than not, those one tricks are very, very good. And people know them for being a one trick that is very good at that character or deck or whatever. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I really like the idea of one tricking. I've been one tricking Hero Frogs basically at the YCS level, like for Ultimate Time Wizards. And for most tournaments that I play in, I've played Hero Frogs, so I think I have more reps with that deck in tournament than anything else. Obviously, I have tried to play other stuff, not to much success in terms of like Ultimate Time Wizard. I did do one Ultimate Time Wizard with Dragon Turbo, and I think every other one has been with Hero Frogs. And I think you've done every Ultimate Time Wizard with Value Turbo, and you've had a lot of success with Value Turbo, obviously. So as two people who are very successful with just basically one deck in Edison format, not to say like, I've taught with other stuff. I taught with Amaryllis and Black Wings and Dream Frogs and Frog Monarchs, like just straight up Frog Monarchs, 12 Monarchs, and just, the whole thing. But I think when I think about like my main success, which is Ultimate Time, which is those are the hardest tournaments to top. First of all, they're top 8, which is insane. 8 or 9 rounds, and nationals could even be 10 if we get 512 people. But I like the idea of one tricking. I didn't realize it until I heard you talking about it. Like, in any game, and I follow other competitive games, like I also follow Smash, which is one of my favorite things. I follow Smash Ultimate specifically, but I also know a lot about Smash Melee because usually there's a tournament for both at the venue, so I end up seeing some of both. And the best players in that game also main one character. Like Hungrybox just plays Jigglypuff. Mango, he can play Falco, he can play Fox, but he mainly is a Fox player now. And like Armada, before he stopped playing the game, he was basically just a Peach main, right? Like he just main Peach, and he had like a back pocket character every once in a while, but he really was a Peach main. Like if you play Armada, 99% of the time he's just going to run out the Peach. He only used Fox for one character, like one person really, for Jigglypuff. So the point is seeing other games and how successful people can be by just grinding the same thing over and over. And the way this relates to Yu-Gi-Oh is like a lot of people will pick up a deck, they won't have the success that they want from the deck immediately, and then they'll just switch their deck. And what this does is it doesn't let you really figure out the deck in its totality. Like you don't really get to master it, I think, right? Would you say?
Yeah, you don't get to master it. You like we talked about this before too, but I've been playing Value for my whole Edison career. You've been playing mainly Frogs, I would say.
Yeah.
And we're still learning stuff.
Yes. I'm still figuring things out now.
Yeah, so I don't look like one tricking is just because this game is so freaking hard, and we relate to Melee, which in my opinion is like one of the hardest games in the world.
Easily.
Not one tricking is just trolling, because you have to know so many interactions, and you have to get in Melee you have to have muscle memory, and our game is more just like less processing power for hands that we see. Like,
yeah,
it's really hard for me. I'd be really hard pressed to say anyone in this game is like 100% proficient at any deck.
Yep.
And if you're not 100% proficient at any deck, why would you like switch to another deck and then like kind of start from scratch almost? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And this is not to say, I don't want to discourage people from playing other decks, right? That's not the point. I'm not saying, oh, the first deck you pick up in Edison format, you should stick with it forever and never change. Because when I first came to Edison, I switched my deck probably 10 times before I found Frogs. I literally tried everything. I tried fairies. I tried pure fairies. This is one of the reasons why I'm such a staunch defender of pure fairies being trash. Like I genuinely think the deck is trash because I tried it. I don't say that as an outsider. I say that as a person who was on the inside of the pure fairy hype train when I got in Edison in 2022, and it was being pushed a lot, right? And it just ended up not panning out. The deck is just intrinsically bad. It has a lot of flaws. And then I switched to Nerlaris, and then I switched to Diva Hero, and then and then basically the point is I went through all of these different decks. I stopped at Black Wings, and at one point I was like, Black Wings is the best deck. I was like, Black Wings is the best deck. I was winning so much with Black Wings at my locals. I was like, Black Wings is the best deck. And then eventually I realized that I didn't think that was true anymore either. So once I found my place, which was Frogs, I have been in this place because I realized the ceiling is high enough for me to learn a lot, and there's a lot of nuance to every situation. There's so many situations to learn. A big part of one tricking also, I think, is like, you might know a deck pretty decently technical play wise, but you do not know the side decking as good as you might think. Side decking is really hard. It's probably one of the hardest skills in Edison and in Yu-Gi-Oh! Period. Like side decking is really, really difficult.
Yep.
And so you could have been playing a deck for a while and still just not have your side deck plan that great until you talk to other people, until you try different things out, and then you also have to go with the meta shifts. Side decking is really hard, and I think one tricking helps with that.
Yeah, and even like me, that I've been one tricking value, like a lot of people know I have a side deck guide, but like people, you can argue many things in my side deck guide, and I'd be like, yeah, that might be correct. Like it's really hard for me to like 100% say like things are correct or not. So I'm still obviously tweaking ratios here and there still.
Yeah, I mean, you added stuff too, like you the Greffer. I think the third Greffer thing being on your side, I think that's such a cool thing. Like when I saw that Orlando, I was like, oh man, this guy's like, you're like doing things that I haven't seen done before. Like I don't think anyone else before you, at least that I saw, was doing that specific thing. Now, of course, I haven't checked every single value side deck. There's fucking hundreds of them at this point that have topped. But like siding the third Greffer just made so much sense to me for what you want to do against certain decks, which is kill them earlier. The longer the game goes on, some matchups just get worse and worse and worse if the game extends too long. So the third Greffer made sense to me. Just little things like that, though, they win tournaments. Like, and you don't find that out without playing the deck for 9,000 hours. Like,
right.
You don't find out that I could side deck a third Greffer, or that, you know, side decking however many pulling the rugs, or main decking deck dev is correct instead of side decking it. These are things that come with like thousands of hours of playing one deck and figuring it out. For me, I mean, that's how I started to arrive at the Future Fusion Dandy thing. It didn't happen like overnight. It was like I was playing the deck. I was playing Hero Frogs in its base form at first, like what my base form of it was. And I had already had success with that. Like the first Ultimate Time was that I topped with it. That was a 9-round tournament. And I thought it was running well, but at that time I was playing like triple battle fader and stuff like that. And then when people started playing oppression, so you realize, okay, I need to switch that up. It went down on that. Look at the cat.
It just walked right past me.
You start changing your ratios. And that also comes with like one tricking. If you just switch your deck, like if I'm like, oh, I didn't top this tournament with Hero Frogs, I'm just going to completely change my deck around now to Black Wings, because Black Wings did well at the last one. Like, a lot of people will do that. They'll be like recency biased towards a deck just because it just recently did well. I think that you just kind of don't get the full scope of it. To speak to people who have had success with one tricking, right? Alistair with Froggo TK.
Yep.
He only plays that deck. He swears by just that deck, and he eventually won an Ultimate Times with that deck. Keza has been playing Amaryllis, one tricking the fuck out of it, despite the fact that that deck has never won a tournament before him. So that's even harder, I think, because like you have to really believe. Like Alistair and Keza had to believe that their deck was right? Like they don't have anyone to reference for a winning deck list. Like whereas, you know, if you look at certain other people who are playing like Value Turbo, they can use the Sizzle 41 or whatever, right? You if you're playing Hero Frogs now, there's been so many Hero Frog wins, etc. But like sometimes you're out on a limb. Like the GB players for a while were like, they just had to believe that eventually this deck is going to win, and it has started winning last year and stuff. So I think that like for like, let's say the X-Saber community, you guys have been shit on for a long time, but then last year X-Saber started like actually doing well. Like actually, I would go as far as to say that that deck can be refined to a point where it can win a major for sure. Like,
yeah, and so also to play devil's advocate on one tricking, like a lot of people are like, oh, if you don't one trick, you learn your other matchups. Well,
sure,
kind of, not really. In my opinion, I think it's better to just play against X matchup that you're trying to learn against with your own deck, and just learn the side patterns, like what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Like there are players who will like switch decks like every few tournaments, and you can't convince me that they would not have gotten the same, if not better, results if they just stuck with one deck.
Right. That's the other thing. Is like, do you think that you would not have done as well if you just played your main deck, right? Like every time I don't play Hero Frogs, I'm like, the way I lost, I feel like I would have done better with Hero Frogs a lot of the time. Like when I don't play it, like some of the things I lose to, I'm like, I wouldn't have lost to this with Hero Frogs, or I wouldn't have bricked. Like when I lost with Amaryllis, I'll never forget. I drew like triple Titanial, double Amaryllis, Necro Gardener in my opening hand. And granted, DB's so ignorant because that hand is just outrageous. Like I'm sure the odds of opening that exact type of hand is so low, but every time you see something that's low percentage, DB will make sure you experience it. Anyway, I was like, well, I just don't, it's not possible to draw that bad. Like it just like, it's so hard for me to draw that bad with Frogs. So I was like, oh, that feels so bad. Cause like Hero Frogs is one of the S tier consistency decks. So like values up there. So that made me feel bad, but you know, I know where home is. Like home is just going to always be the one trick thing. There's the other part. People who like to, I guess, accumulate accolades with different decks, which like I've done in the past too, right? So when I was playing, you know, main event Yu-Gi-Oh, right, like the main format or whatever, I would top with a deck and then I would immediately move on. And this, I think, is one of the things that kind of stymied me in a weird way. I didn't know because I was younger. I wanted to prove that I wasn't a one trick where like, oh, you can only top with one deck. So I would change, like I top with Gravekeepers first, right? But then I immediately went to Dragoonity. I top with Dragoonity, and then I went to like Aegis, and I top with Aegis, and I went to Plants, top with Plants, and I went to like Necros, and then it keeps on going. Burning Abyss, Shadow, like I just built up this resume of topping with all these different decks. But I actually think in hindsight, if I had just stuck with like one deck in most of these formats, I might have even been able to win again, as opposed to just like, oh, just adding another top with a different deck. Because that, like, you're not, how do you say it? You're not judged on.
Yeah, you're not judged on how many different decks you can play. You're just judged on how well you can do at any given tournament. So, like, I'm probably absolute butt cheeks with Forks. I've never played the deck. I would, if you hand me that deck, I fucking misplay my ass off. But I'm not judged based on how well I can play Forks. I'm just judged on how well I can play one deck in Edison. So,
and you have more wins than anyone. So it's like you've been playing Value Turbo, all your wins with Value Turbo. No one is penalizing you for being a Value Turbo player and like just mastering Value Turbo. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, would you rather have 5 tops with different decks, or would you rather have wins with one deck? Is kind of the way. Like, you can have 5 wins.
We're kind of going off tangent, but dude, a win is just so much better than the top.
It really is, though. Like, no, it really is, because people don't even remember a lot of times, like, who topped stuff after a while, right? Like, if you ask, like, a year from now, if you ask me who topped YCS Providence, I couldn't really tell you, but I could tell you who probably got first and second, because I'll always remember the Volcanic Garden deck just because of impact, and I'll remember that GBs won because that was the first time GBs won Ultimate Time Wizard, stuff like that. You won't remember the winner. Like, I'll remember like what won most of the YCS. Like, I could almost name every single one last year, like Anaheim Blackwings, like Niagara was Dan Rose with Lightsworn. Like, I can just do that. You won Raleigh, like I won Indianapolis, Steve Silver and his team won Vegas. Like, you remember the winners, but you don't really remember the people who just like fucking topped, like who after a while, like those just kind of fade away. And so I guess my other thing is, like, if you really want to win, I think you stick with one deck, you become 9,000 hours in with that deck, and just a savant, become a savant with your deck, and like you'll have the best success, because you don't know the deck as well as you think you do. You gave up on it and you switch, but you like, if you can get out of your own ass, get out of your own ego, like you can just do better at grinding that deck and figuring things out.
Yeah, that one last thing I'll say, like when I played Melee, I played Marth, and there are so many like random matchups I hate with like playing against with Marth. And I'm like, I want to switch to Sheik or Fox for this matchup. And then I look at the pros, and they're like they're beating these guys with Marth.
Yep. So you realize it's you.
It's me. Like, I don't know Marth well enough. So why am I like, people who switch decks because they're like, okay, like this is an easy example. People are like, yeah, Value Turbo is just not meant for me. I'm going to switch to Blackwings. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Value Turbo is not the problem. It is you. You like, like I get if you don't like Value Turbo, but the winning with it is not. Like the deck clearly has been proven to win the most out of any deck in Edison so far. So it's like, it's definitely not the deck. Right? Like, you might think you're playing well, and that's the problem, is that a lot of times I think people feel like they lost because they were playing well and the deck isn't good enough, when in reality you didn't play as well as you thought. It might be something as simple as like you set a Ryko that gets mind controlled, you know? I don't we got blown out. It was such a small thing, right? But then it ended up being the entire game, right? And so we were playing great up until that point, and then that one little thing, but people don't self-reflect. Like me and you, we had a whole moment. And even after we stopped recording, we talked for like an hour on the Discord, and we were just talking about like literally just that one thing, and like stuff just in that ballpark of misplaying, and how quick it is and how easy it is to misplay, and how this is why you have to keep grinding, and this is why it's also hard to record and play and stuff like that. Just all the little things that go into it. But I do think that like sticking with one deck, it just, now that I've had it put into words, when I was listening to, I think it was you and Echo, but now that I've had it put into words, I'm like, man, that makes so much sense, because I have more Ultimate Time Wizard tops than anyone else, and I have a win, and like they're all with Hero Frogs. Like, I have 4 Ultimate Time Wizards top 8s, and they're all with Hero Frog. Every single one's with Hero Frogs. Every single one is an Edison format, and like with same deck every time, like with minor changes, but same deck every time. And you, Value Turbo, who you have three tops of Value Turbo. There's only a few people who have 3 or more tops at Ultimate Time Wizard, but yours are all with Value Turbo. You have 2 wins, and then I look at people like Josh Johnson Boss, who's been playing GBs exclusively, has now, so he used to have 5,000 games, now he has 10,000 sets on ladder with GBs. He just confirmed at the last EWCQ. I streamed that a couple weeks ago. He went undefeated in Swiss with GBs. GBs is so good now in his hands because of how much he's been playing it. He has all these different builds
for it that makes sense at the time, given where the meta's at and stuff. But like him going undefeated now and becoming like a real threat in tournaments and everything, and he's been topping like at the end, starting last year and then like into this year. But seeing him go undefeated at a tournament like that, this tournament was super stacked, by the way. Like every good online player basically was in that tournament, and like seeing somebody one tricking and having that level of success, and then he got all the way to like top 4 and got blown out by like, you know, Jojo Sakari just like light swarmed him.
OD'd on him.
Yeah, he just like OD'd on him with light swarm, which is like you can't control that. But the point is, he one tricked the deck and went like 11-0.
Dude, but like he's 10,000 games now. You said?
Yes. 10,000.
So like I maybe, but I doubt it. But I bet even he hasn't solved GBs. Like
100%.
I bet he's still changing his build. Like he doesn't have a perfect build yet.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't have a perfect side deck like
It's
planned
hard
yet for every matchup. Yeah, 10,000 games. How many people watching this video can say they played 10,000 games on one deck?
Yeah, I definitely haven't played 10,000 games of Frogs, but I still love the deck, and it's the deck I want to become like the best with over time, right? So I just keep grinding the same deck, and I don't mind it. Like I don't even care that people know when they sit down in front of me that I'm most likely going to summon a swap Frog, you know, turn 1 or whatever. Like
Must be nice.
I mean, because like you play people, and I'm sure when they sit down, they're like, I know Sizzle's gonna be.
Dude, it sucks because they know I'm playing Vayu. If they go first or not, they're never playing into Raiko. I'm just like, I hate it here. I can't get free shit.
Doesn't stop you from doing well. It just doesn't. Like, true. I think like, and that's another thing. People want to like have this surprise factor, but I think once you're known, you can't really get a surprise factor that long in a tournament anyway. And this is going off on a tangent too, but like after 1 or 2 rounds, people know what X player is playing because they're a name. Like people are gonna know if you were playing something like Amaryllis, everyone is gonna know that Sizzle's playing Amaryllis after like round 1 or 2. That's just what's gonna happen. So the surprise thing is only for like 1 round. It's not worth it to me to sacrifice your whole tournament for a surprise factor for like 1 or 2 rounds when you can just play the better deck, which is blatantly Value Turbo. If we're comparing it to like Amaryllis, it's just blatantly Value Turbo if you want to have the higher chance of winning. So it depends on what your goals are. If your goal is just to top with a bunch of different decks, then by all means do that, right? Like I've done that before and it was fun. But if you ask me what would I rather have, would I rather have like one deck that I've topped with a bunch and I've won with that deck, or would I just have a bunch of tops with a bunch of different decks? The answer is going to be I'd rather have less tops but I've won with a deck than having a bunch of different tops with different decks. And like, yeah, I'd rather just have the win and the same deck being grinded over and over and over again. Like I'd rather be in that position.
I would trade all my tops for 1 more win.
Yeah, like the top. Yeah. After you get so many of them, you don't give a fuck. Or just like they're just whatever at this point, right? Like they I won't say that they feel empty, but like when they're not, when you top and you don't win and you've already won and you're just kind of chasing that again, it doesn't feel as good to just get a fucking hamster mat or whatever it is now. So yeah. Anyways, I think that's like, you know, that's what I really wanted to say on this topic. I think this is a pretty good topic. Let us know what you guys think about one tricking. Like, are you a one trick? Have you found your deck? Because I think that's the first step is find your deck, right? You can't one trick until you find your deck. But once you find your deck and you really feel like this feels the most correct to me, and you should know that after a while, like this is the deck that just feels like home. Once you find a deck that's home to you, I think you should just put in an extravagant amount of hours into that.
Yeah, until you're like literally the best with that deck.
Yeah.
And you really can't say like I don't think I can do it with this deck anymore.
Yeah.
But you literally like have to be the best with the deck.
Yeah.
In order to say that.
Which is really hard to do. So anyways, guys, we will catch you in the next one. Peace.